Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha Parkman. I'm a global enterprise account executive at Brex, and I work with our largest deployments of both our corporate card solution and expense management solution for our customers. I have my teammate Chelsea with me today, who's going to give you a sneak peek of how this looks in action. But I'll go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully this is working fine. Excellent. Just did my intro. So does everybody here have a corporate card in their wallet? Maybe it's an Amex, maybe it's JP Morgan, maybe it's Bank of America, maybe it's a Brex card. Does anyone have a Brex card in their wallet? Yep, that does. Okay, very good. Okay, well, does that corporate card automate your expense reports? I don't know, but Brex does. If it's a Brex card, the answer is yes. But if it's not a Brex card, it probably isn't. So we'd like to leave with the fact that we are the smartest corporate card on the market today. Brex is really uniquely positioned in the market because we are a fintech. The fin part of the fintech is a financial services product, our corporate credit card, and the tech component of the fintech is the software that we actually built around the corporate card. So if you really think of the landscape of card and expense, cards are typically coming from traditional banks, legacy bank programs, banking relationships, et cetera. And expense management is typically a standalone product that is maybe connecting to those cards. Maybe it's a standalone reimbursements product, usually grouping expenses into expense reports, et cetera. And then obviously integrating back into NetSuite for reconciliation. Now, why is Brex so unique? It's because we marry both the card and expense into a more modern software-enabled platform that unlocks a lot of automation and end user ease. So basically, the card infrastructure itself is owned by Brex. We went to market with the corporate card, and we provide large credit limits based on the financial health of businesses rather than credit worthiness or requiring collateralization. So the way that we actually provision credit limits is very differentiated from a traditional bank, all the way through actually using the card, which has a layer of software around it that unlocks for a lot of different spending use cases. And so we've been in business for quite some time. I've been with the company for about 6.5 years, and really proud to say that we work with some incredible logos that you can see on the screen here today: Carta, Airtable, SeatGeek, DoorDash. Fun fact, we brought SeatGeek's month-end close reconciliation from 2 weeks down to about 4 hours. So they've used a lot of our post-spend automation to uncover a lot of efficiencies. And I'm not sure if they're a NetSuite customer, but they might be able to look into it. That said, typically expense management is more reactive than proactive. So in the structure I mentioned earlier, where you have a separate corporate card with a traditional bank, you have a standalone expense management tool that folks are filing reimbursements in, and then you're reconciling all of that through to NetSuite. There's a lot of dependencies. You're waiting for folks to actually submit an expense report. You're not really sure if that expense report is going to be compliant. That's a big question. There's a lot of post-spend reviews once that expense report is actually submitted, and Lord knows when those transactions in that expense report were actually taking place. Some folks actually file expense reports months after they're supposed to. So it's money that's left the building months prior, and then you don't really have real-time visibility into that spend until that person is actually filing that expense report. Not only that, but then once you find expenses that might not be compliant, then there's a lot of back and forth between your finance team, between the actual managers, the actual employees, and it causes a mess and downstream delays. And then, of course, downstream delays in reconciling back into NetSuite. And so the way that Brex thinks about this is we turn it around into a more proactive solution. And so because we have the smart corporate card that we encourage folks to actually deploy across their entire organizations with confidence, rather than doing reimbursements. Of course, we can support reimbursements as well, but the magic here is you're able to embed your corporate card policy into the card before people use it. Brex is built on the MasterCard payment rails, and so we actually get enhanced data sent to us by MasterCard in real time and also post-spend. So while someone has a Brex card in their hand and they're swiping, we get instant real-time access to the merchant category code. Of course, everyone's familiar with an MCC code, but also the merchant name, the person who's swiping, and the total that's being swiped. And we can take action against policy in real time. So if you've got your sales rep out there potentially going to an entertainment venue that they shouldn't be, and that's been flagged as an out of policy transaction, in real time, we can decline that transaction so it won't go through. Inversely, we can we can create cards that only allow specific vendors to be used. So that the use cases are quite endless here with all the upfront controls we can put into the cards. And then naturally, the spend that flows through the cards is going to be much more compliant than your typical expense report. And then you get to unlock that real-time visibility. And so you're essentially controlling spend proactively. You're deploying corporate cards across your organization with confidence, knowing that there's policy built into them. You're not giving them a card that has a limit that they can go and use anywhere. There's a policy, there's tech. There's also a slick mobile app that makes it really easy for folks to use. I literally don't save my receipts anymore because of the data that MasterCard passes to us. We can auto-generate receipts for the majority of vendors. And then the post-spend reconciliation, which is my favorite part here that Chelsea's going to start talking about in a minute, is quite automated as well. Because of that enhanced data that MasterCard sends to us, because we have tens of thousands of customers whose data that we're always learning from, we're able to auto-categorize transactions, auto-code them, auto-generate receipts, connect to G Suite calendars, automatically add attendees to a dinner, say that they were there, essentially eliminating expense reports, auto expensing transactions by line. And if everything is smooth and compliant to your policy, that thing is ready for reconciliation. So now you're managing by exception rather than managing by expense report and dealing with all of those downstream delays that we're so used to. So you're going to control spend proactively, increase your spending power because, spoiler alert, these cards do come with rebates and those rebates do go back to your organization, and automate busy work post-spend. Lastly, we are a global card program for all spend use cases. Brex is the most global fintech on the market today. And what I mean by that is we've invested hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to provision these cards in local currencies, onboard global entities, and actually be able to empower our customers to pay their bills in local currencies, VAT tracking, all of those fun things. And so we truly are a global program. And we can be a standalone card program that embeds into other spend use cases. So not only do we have our full suite of card and expense management that I was really highlighting just now, but also we see organizations embed our cards into a NetSuite to actually process vendor payments, because we can spin up one-time use virtual cards for payment processing, all the way through mirroring a PO-like process with requiring folks to request the ability to spend on a card rather than having a card that has a limit that they can use anytime. The list goes on, right? Like you can use these cards for any type of use case because of the technology investment that we've made in the cards. Very differentiated from a traditional bank card, very differentiated from, sorry, very different from a traditional reimbursements expense management platform. We are truly a global all-in-one solution. So how does all of this reconcile back into NetSuite? I think my friend Chelsea here is going to hop in and help us out.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for that amazing overview. And I will share my screen and continue to share. So Brex plugs into NetSuite very seamlessly. This is, connected via a suite bundle, so very plug and play. In my previous life, I actually sat on our implementation team here at Brex, and the initial setup was typically about 15 minutes, which is pretty crazy as far as an integration goes. It was wonderful to get people so connected. And the idea here, right, is with all that automation up front that Samantha was talking about, is one, we're getting a lot of compliant transactions right off the bat flowing through to this accounting tab where our accounting teams are going to actually review transactions and ensure that they're classified correctly before hitting NetSuite. And then also be able to take action on those, on any transactions. Once connected to NetSuite, we're going to bring in all of the different classifications that you could want. That's going to include, the default ones, such as like locations, departments, employees, vendors, but we also support custom segments, custom fields, as well as custom records. So as far as what you can bring in from NetSuite to Brex to leverage for classification, sky is pretty much the limit. We do sync over that information automatically on a nightly basis. So there's no like manual syncing required. You can do a push though, if desired. Say you update your projects or something and you want to go ahead and get that immediately into the platform, you can always refresh that as well. We do also sync in amortization schedules. This was one of our most recent releases, so that is possible in our platform as well. We can export in multiple forms. So we can export as a journal entry or a credit card transaction, as well as vendor bills and journal entries for our reimbursements. And you can also choose to batch, whether that's going to be a daily, weekly, or monthly batch for our journal entries or an individual transaction for each journal entry. To be clear, though, we're never going to aggregate your data. Every transaction will always be its own line entry to ensure that you get the best reporting possible. We also have automation built into our platform. So as we pull in all of these amazing, fields from NetSuite that you already have set up, we're going to suggest mappings for you to make this process very easy and seamless. So for instance, here we're recognizing that the vendor LinkedIn matches the merchant LinkedIn that we already have in our platform. And we're going to go ahead and suggest that mapping for you. You can accept these in bulk, and we will continuously do this as you use the platform and as we're pulling in new vendors or any other records from NetSuite. And so the idea here really is that as transactions are hitting this accounting tab, the hope is that they will be fully classified for you and that you're not going to have to take any sort of manual action on them. But in the event that you do, right, especially as you first start using the platform, we make it very easy. So you can come in and say, all right, I know that these actually need to hit a different GL account. So I'm going to go ahead and make that change here. And we'll give you the ability to batch update all selected transactions. You can also customize this view to make it, fit your workflow. So you can toggle on and off certain columns. You can also drag and drop to reorder. So maybe I want to be able to see that spending entity. I can go ahead and pull this up here so that I can readily see it and make that a little bit easier for me. I also love that you can search for different transactions, or my personal favorite is filtering by the compliant transactions. These are often the ones that are, ready to be exported over into your ERP. So we can go ahead and export those en masse. So that's my personal favorite. But you'll also see that we have the ability to prepare as accruals or prepare as actuals. So in the event that you are waiting on a memo or receipt or some other action to be taken on an expense, you can prepare an accrual to go ahead and get the books closed, so that you're not waiting on or you're not harassing your employees for those memos and receipts. We know that, accounting is hard enough, so we don't want to make your jobs harder and having to chase down employees for those things. Now, once you've prepared the transaction, it moves into this review tab. You'll see that the transaction is now locked because at this point, the accounting team has given it that first level of review. And we do include an audit log within each transaction. You'll see any action that's been taken on that expense, whether it's an approval or any sort of mapping changes that have been made. In the event that you notice an error, though, you can always send the transaction back to prepare so that you can make additional changes to it. But optimally, you could come in here and export. This is a direct export. We do always offer the CSV as well, just in case, but everyone loves a direct export when possible. This will sync in the background for you. And we do maintain an export history, so you'll see all of your successful exports. And what I personally love is that we will include an ERP link for you. So once that transaction has successfully exported, you'll get a link directly to it in NetSuite. Now, what this looks like once it comes over, I've got a pretty basic example here. Again, this is a journal entry, but we support journal entry, credit card charges, reimbursements can sync over as bills as well. We do also have a bill payment module in our platform, which we sync over as bills and bill payments. We also have a Brex Pay module where you can initiate bills and have those be paid out through Brex. So lots of different options as far as how you can use our platform. But you'll see, the debit and the credit. The memo is fully customizable, so we're going to include the memo that the user entered within Brex. We can also provide the merchant name, so in the event that you didn't have vendor mapping or you didn't want that vendor at the line level, maybe it's a smaller restaurant or something like that, you still get that level of detail for auditing purposes. We can also provide the name of the user, the last 4 digits of their card, and the posted date, and then any of the classifications as well that were assigned at that transaction level. We'll provide a receipt URL. This is stored indefinitely, so we don't ever delete your receipts. And then also a created from link that will take you back to that transaction in the Brex dashboard. Again, like I mentioned, we do support those custom records, custom fields, and custom segments. So this is a pretty, basic example, but there's so much more that you can add to these entries as well. All right. Thank you so much. I will stop sharing and I will turn it back over.